Happy Friday, TK! Today we are reading a book called Peter's Old House, written and illustrated by Elsa Bascal. And was one of my favorite books when I was a kid. We've had it since before I was born, because my oldest brother's name is Peter, just like the person in this book. And Elsa Bascal is a very famous author and illustrator in a country called Sweden, which is where a lot of my mom's family is from. So we read a lot of her stories, and she draws beautiful illustrations, and I think she uses watercolor for them. And it's a story all about a community working together. So I'm going to begin. Peter's Old House, written and illustrated by Elsa Bascal. The author writes the book. The author writes the book. The illustrator draws the pictures. The author writes the book. Peter had once been a sailor and lived in a rather shabby old little house in our village street. He could speak lots of languages, so when visitors came from all over the world, Peter was always sent for. He could speak Russian and German and Spanish and Dutch and French and English and Swedish and heaven knows what else. So he explained everything to the visitors. Silent connection if you can speak another language. Peter had sailed in ships all over the world, far away across the seas and oceans. He had seen gorillas and coconut trees, and elephants and giraffes, and he used to tell us stories all about them. So the person writing this story, let me make sure you can see the pictures. The person writing this story is one of these kids. It's told from his perspective, which means his point of view. Everyone say perspective. Say it. Perspective. Clap it. Perspective. Whisper it. Perspective. Peter could play the flute and the mandolin, and he had a zither too. Those are all different types of musical instruments. He could whistle lots of tunes, just like Delilah. And when he whistled just like the birds, they would come down to him. Gulls and cormorants and ducks and geese and terns would come flying down or waddling up and take little fish from his hands. One of them even perched right on his shoulder. Another thing that Peter could do was make sailing boats. He made them out of wood, sewed the sails himself, and then rigged the boat. They were the best boats in the world, and we all stood around watching and wondering whose turn it was to have this one. When the boat was finished, we used to go down to the water and watch him launch it. If it sailed well, Peter would decide who was to have it. This time it went to a little boy who didn't have very many toys. He was very pleased, and for a week or two, he was the proudest of us all. You can see that Peter is a very important person in this community. He's very nice to a lot of people and takes care of them. Peter was also our doctor. If you fell and hurt your leg, you went to Peter, and he bandaged it up for you. People used to bring them sick animals, goats and chickens and lambs, and he made them better. It was the same with clocks or locks. If they went wrong, people said, "Take it to Peter. He'll mend it." Then the lock would work again, and the clock would go tick-tock again. He is a very helpful ally. So you can see that Peter worked very hard and was always busy mending things and people. But all the same, he was very poor as a church mouse, because no one ever thought of paying Peter. So his old house was in a very bad way. So he's helping all these people, but he doesn't have another job where he gets money so that he can live and fix up his house. One evening, when Peter was sitting outside his house making a boat for one of us, and these aren't full-size boats, these are like miniature boats, which means they're small, a stern-looking man in uniform appeared. Stern means he looks very serious. An official of some kind. He had a very grand stick and looked cross and pop-eyed. Cross is angry. "Now look here," he said sternly to Peter. "Your house is a disgrace and spoils the street. If you don't get it mended by next week, I'll have it torn down." Peter didn't know what to do because he had no money to buy the things he needed to fix his house. Turn to somebody next to you, or a stuffed animal or a loved pet, and tell them what you think is going to happen next. What is Peter going to do? Well, everyone in the town put their heads together and thought. Charlie, the carpenter's son, Ken, the bricklayer's son, and Len, whose father's the blacksmith, and Rob, the painter's son. That's me. So the person telling the story is Rob, the painter's son. And we all said, Peter's always helped us. Now it's our turn to help him. So we asked the wagon driver's 2 girls to come along and help, because we were sure to need his wagon. The next morning, we all went to Peter's house. I love this picture. Look at all the things they have. We had a load of bricks in a small cart, nails and tools in a wheelbarrow. The girl's father brought the timber along in his horse-drawn wagon, and he had a saw, a ladder, some sand, and cement. So a lot of building materials. Lots of people came along to help, and of course, Peter knew exactly how to mend things. So he was the master builder and told us all what to do. To mend something is to fix it. We put up shutters front and back. Those are those green window coverings. And they were to be painted green. We took off the old tiles and rebuilt the chimney. And Len's father, the blacksmith, made a new weather vane. You can see the weather vane up there. It's this piece of metal. Looks like a metal flag, and you can see which way the wind is blowing by where it spins. Maybe you could make some weather vanes this week. Or pinwheels out of paper and straws. Oh, I'll add that to my list. Charlie's father, the carpenter, made a dovecoat, so we painted it blue and red. We fixed it to the roof. A little birdhouse, just like Anna made. We papered the walls inside, then painted the kitchen blue, the brightest blue that my father could find. And then we started on the outside walls. I love that they use so many bright colors to make it cheerful. The roof was given shiny new red tiles. Ken made sure they were all straight, while the others handed tiles up to him. The chimney was finished, and Len hammered on the metal edge his father had given him. Then outside walls were given a coat of bright yellow paint. Last of all, we mended the gate and painted both it and the fence the same green as the shutters. Here's a little sign that says wet paint. When Peter's house was finished, we all hoisted the wreath up on the roof, and everyone helped to clear away the mess. Then we had a party. Peter played a jolly tune on his flute, and people came and stared in astonishment. Astonishment means wonder and excitement. They're like, wow! They can't believe that these people fixed his whole house up, because they're all working together as a community. There was food and drink and dancing, and it was the most cheerful topping out party that we had ever had. Then along came the official, still looking very cross, all ready to pull Peter's house down. But when he saw it, he stopped, and his mouth fell wide open with surprise. "What's this?" he said. "What's happened? This house is the best on the street now." But no one took any notice of him. Peter's just rigging another boat, and we were all looking on, especially me, because this boat was for me. Peter's old house is still there now, although this was a long, long time ago, and Peter is no longer alive. But his house is still bright yellow, the shutters green, and the tiles on the roof rosy red. That shows you what a good job we did, especially on the paintwork, because you see, I mixed those paints myself. That's me. Rob. The end. If you are feeling inspired to write your own story, like Peter's old house, I'm going to ask you to write a story or draw a picture, maybe add some labels and letters if you can, about something that you did, some project you worked on with a team of people. Maybe it was your friends, maybe it was a family, and how that felt. I felt that they felt really, really good working on this house together. When I was a kid, I had a playhouse in my backyard. It was like a little wooden house, not bigger than a small closet that my grandfather had built a long time ago. And I would go and I'd find rocks and I'd find moss and I'd make rugs and I'd find sticks to make fake fireplaces. And I would love to go down there and fix it all up with things I found down in the backyard. And I think that that was a very fun project that reminds me of Peter's old house. So if you're feeling inspired, draw a picture, send me a picture of that, and I will write back to you. I miss you guys. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe and wash your hands.